Hi. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla and I like to talk about books, book reviews, reading vlogs, stuff like that. So if any of that interests you, then please like, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. But today I'm going to be doing a straightforward book review on the book Class by Stephanie Land. Class by Stephanie Land is a pretty new release that just came out I think last week, and it is the follow-up to the book Made by the same author that came out a few years back and actually was also a Netflix limited series or something like that. They adapted it for Netflix and I did a whole review on it at the time, and I think I remember saying in my book review that that was one of the few times, maybe the only time ever, that I actually thought that the adaptation for the screen was better than the book. And I don't typically say that, but obviously, yeah, in that case, I felt like it was better than the book. The first book, Made, follows basically she has this child and it was an accident. It was a whoops baby. Doesn't make it any less loved, but she was a whoops baby and she's in this kind of a emotionally kind of abusive relationship. I'm not sure how far the abuse extended, but I think it was just really generally considered financially and emotionally abusive, and so she leaves that situation and ends up cleaning houses to try and pull herself and her daughter out of that situation and out of poverty in general. So this book kind of chronicles that entire journey that she has, and at the end of it she enrolls in school in university, and this book, the follow-up, chronicles her time at university, where again she is still struggling as a single mom, trying to pull herself out of poverty. So for the synopsis, like I said, this just chronicles her time at the University of Montana in Missoula, getting an English degree, an undergrad degree, and she is at this point a single mom in her 30s with her young daughter. Her daughter is now school age, and they've obviously left Washington, which is where the first book takes place, and left that relationship. And while she still has some contact with the father of her daughter, just because obviously he sees the child sometimes, they're far away and she's building this new fresh life. So I think that in that sense it's very uplifting as a follow-up, and it also just overall, I guess I'm just diving into it, overall the story feels a lot more cohesive than the first one. I think for the show adaptation of the first book, they made the story more cohesive, but it was not quite that, it wasn't quite that well developed in the book, if that makes sense. It was a lot more all over the place. The timelines were a little bit more jumbled, and that's fine, that's to be expected, but they definitely storyboarded the heck out of it and made it into a much better story for the Netflix adaptation. This book already came in as feeling a little bit more of a cohesive story, and I think part of that is that there's a really set start and end point. So the starting point is obviously her starting school, and then the set kind of ending point is, oh my gosh, there's a little fuzz floating by the camera. The set ending point is her actually giving birth to her second daughter. So I feel it's really neatly bookended in a way that made it more satisfying to kind of read in that sense. The story was more clear cut. Made, the first book, just didn't exactly have that. It sort of had that for the end. It didn't really have that as much for the beginning. I just feel this one, you can tell she's probably grown as a writer. It's absolutely a little bit more of a neatly packaged and tied up story. Kind of jumping off of that, I felt the writing itself was actually just so engaging. She's really a descriptive writer, and I will love to see something that's not a memoir from her, to be totally honest. I'm really excited for the day when I'm reading not a memoir from Stephanie Land, because I do think that she is a skilled writer. I think she's got a way with words, and I think that this is naturally something she's going to keep gravitating towards because she's written articles and things related to this. But I really hope that she starts writing some fiction, something that's maybe not a memoir, or even something that's historically based. I think she would do really well with that. Now, there are some things that I have that are bones to pick, and I don't know if it's necessarily about the writing style or the story itself. This is sometimes a hard story to read, to be totally honest, because especially after that first book and seeing how much she struggled pulling herself and her daughter, who obviously she loves her daughter so much, pulling them out of poverty, that was a huge thing. So it's very frustrating to read this book and see her like kind of having nonchalant relationships and hookups with guys like at college, where it's like, you are a single mom in your early mid-30s. Like, you need to cut this out. Like, I can't imagine even having the time to like hook up with people. But the fact that she has like multiple pregnancy scares and issues is just like, don't do this. It's so frustrating to read. I just can't imagine like having a child and feeling like it's okay to hook up, especially knowing that I absolutely can't afford another child, like financially or time-wise. It's wild to me. So it's beautiful that she had her daughter and everything, but she had an abortion before that at one point in this book, and it just kind of felt like, did you not learn your lesson? She should have been a little bit more careful, and it was really so hard. And I'm not trying to like pass judgment, it was just hard to read. I was like, this is just straight up hard to read, like you need to cut this out. That aside, I think that there were a lot of interesting points. She talks about how her mom was the first person in their family who went to college, so it is a really big deal for her to go and get this degree. Personally, I probably would not choose an English degree to be the thing that I go into that much debt for as a primary caregiver for my children. I definitely would have chosen something a lot more pragmatic. That's just me and my personality. That being said, she's clearly got a talent for English and for writing, so it's good that she went down this route, and she's a hard worker, so clearly it's working out really well for her. But I think that that's something worth noting, is that this isn't just that she's like a single mom and in this situation, yada yada yada. It's like that there isn't necessarily a ton of higher education that's gone down through her family. This means a lot to her in more than just the way of like it creating opportunities. I think it's really important to like realize that how much it meant to her and means to her just as an accomplishment. And I think that's so cool. And so I really liked reading about that. Economics learned, not taught, is when she kind of starts talking about the logistics of actually applying to college and the difficulty that surrounds that. And this section I had such mixed feelings on. In some ways it kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I felt like it was a little bit disingenuous. She talks about in high school wanting to apply to college and her parents just basically not like helping her with applications. That's true, like if your parents don't know, but her mom did go to college, number one, so that's already an advantage. But it's also that there are guidance counselors, and that would be the guidance counselor's job anyway. So if you had those questions and you didn't think your parents could answer them, there's a whole person on staff at basically every major high school in the country that would be able to help with that. So it felt a little disingenuous to me that she talked about having zero resources, because that's just probably not true. But that being said, memoirs are colored by the people experiencing them, so I get that even though technically that resource might have been available, maybe she felt like it wasn't, maybe she felt shut down by her parents. That's why I have mixed reviews and mixed feelings on this section. Kind of going back to it, I feel like, again, also rubbing me the wrong way was that she seemed to be trying to have a traditional college experience. I understand the desire, but when you are a single mom in your 30s, that's maybe not the time to have the traditional college experience that a 20-year-old with no children would have. This feels obvious to say, and I almost feel like in this day and age, people will be like, don't judge, don't like slut shame or anything like that. Actually, I am gonna like be like, no, that's a poor decision to make, and clearly it was a poor decision to make. Having, quote, a different boyfriend every month and things like that. I'm like, you have a daughter who's really young, like I don't know, the whole thing felt a little bit sketch to me. I honestly could not imagine feeling comfortable doing that. You're a mom. You're a single mom too. You're like, your child relies on you. You have to be so much more careful than that. That being said, I do appreciate that she was like honest about those things. Like I said, again, it's colored through her lens. I appreciate that she was honest, but it was frustrating. It was a frustrating book to read sometimes. That being said, I feel like there were some really, really heartwarming moments. I love that she chronicled, and this is where it goes back to like, she's a talented writer. She chronicled her and depicted her birth towards the end of the book. Like I said, it was kind of the end bookmark, was like her graduation and giving birth to her second daughter, Coraline. I just had my second daughter not that long ago. That really tugged at my heartstrings, but I also felt like she did a phenomenal job with the descriptions during that time. I was just floored at how I was like transported there. I swear, I was like transported into a lot of these situations, and that's where I go back to, like, maybe I wouldn't agree with every personal choice she makes in her life. That's okay. That's not my life, you know? But she definitely is an incredibly talented writer, and I'm really excited to see something that's not a memoir from her. The chapter where she gives birth to her daughter is just so beautifully written and just so cool, and like this description of her older daughter holding her younger daughter, like, just absolutely melted my heart. It was so sweet. I guess that's the point of a memoir. It's a journey. Like, and I can't imagine how hard it would be to write down for like the whole world to read some decisions you might not necessarily be proud of. So I just really commend her for that. If you liked the first book, and even if you like the show or the series, I would absolutely recommend this because it gives like more closure to that story. It absolutely needed the second part to finish her story, and now I feel like complete because I know what happened after she had her second daughter and everything like worked out okay. And I would recommend the first one depending on like what you enjoy reading. That's gonna be it for my thoughts. Let me know below if you've read it, if you're interested in reading it. It would just be curious to see what other people's thoughts are. But that's gonna be it for this video. Please like, please subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you later.